I mean, just let it wash over you.
He's going to make me cry.
Nothing says pizza at 11:18 in the morning, sitting around on a couch on a Thursday, praying for brackets, basketball, and cash.
Oh, so good.
Oh, man, it must be March. Here we go. And the great Ken Pomeroy is going to join us here momentarily. Do want to mention the breaking news again, and we'll have more on this after we visit with Ken. But Andre Iguodala is going to be out, and this is an estimate coming from our own Doc Pandia, but about 6 to 8 weeks, broken wrist, a fracture in the wrist. He will have surgery. So Andre Iguodala is out an extended period of time, and it may well be the rest of the season, and it may call it a career. For the great Andre Iguodala, former NBA Finals MVP. So more on that coming up around the bend. But let's welcome in the great Ken Pom. We just go by Ken Pom, kenpom.com. That's where you can get all the little data, which you know the deal, Ken. We look at this data, we live by it, and we hope it turns into a wonderful cash present here as spring opens up in our United States of America. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so I mean, is there, like, when you put all of this together, and I know this is a deep data run, so I'm not asking you to sort of like share the way this all comes together, but do you have a list right now of teams that you think these are the teams that legitimately have a chance to win it all, and if so, how big's that list this year?
Well, I don't necessarily have like a hard line on, hey, this team can do it, this team can't. But there are obviously teams that are much better positioned than others. I will say that this year, at least according to my ratings, there is, as much parity at the top as there ever has been. Just in terms of the ratings, the top teams are just worse than they, have been in previous seasons, really going back, almost 20 years. So I would not be surprised. I know our brackets always end up going down in flames at some point, but I would not be surprised if more brackets go down in flames this year, because I do think the top teams are more vulnerable than they ever have been.
I'm a Ken Pom geek. I'm not afraid to admit it. I'm a Ken Pomaholic. I think we've talked about this before, Ken, many times on the station, but I was looking at your numbers, and it seems like almost always a team that wins the championship is top 20 in offense and in defense. And this year, it's UConn, it's Alabama, it's Houston, and Texas, the only teams that qualify. Would you say that one of those four is most likely to win based on the way they've played so far in the regular year?
Yeah, that's certainly a good start. I mean, I think Houston and Alabama are the clear, top two most likely teams to win it. And then after that, like, I don't get too caught up in saying, hey, you got to be top 20 in both. But the fact of the matter is you're going to win the title. You have to play like a team that has a top 20 offense and a top 20 defense. And so if you're, within shouting distance of those ranks, you can do it. Like UCLA, if they were fully healthy, if Jalen Clark wasn't hurt, their offense is ranked 25th. Their defense is number one. Like, I would say for sure they would be in that mix as well. You mentioned UConn. Certainly Purdue, I would even throw in the mix. I know people are, really skittish about picking a Big Ten team, and I can appreciate that. But, Zach Edey is a machine offensively, and they rank 23rd defensively, so it's not like their defense is terrible or anything. It's pretty solid, and they can certainly fake it, I think, and play like a top 20 team for the next 3 weeks. So yeah, there's obviously teams that are more better set up to win this than others, but I think the list of teams that could possibly win it are, probably more like 8 to 10 teams as opposed to 4 or 5.
Ken Pomeroy with us here, Willard Dibs, 95.7 The Game. Ken, I think one thing that stands out from a Bay Area perspective, they're a 5 seed, but based on your ratings, St. Mary's is number 11 in the country. What kind of tournament do you think they could have?
Well, I hope for my sake they have a good one, because, yeah, no question, I have them rated higher than a lot of people do. They will run into UConn in that, potentially second round game, and that is going to be a huge test, because that West region, really the West region, it was just, I don't know what got into the selection committee, but they decided to essentially just stack that region after Kansas, who's the weakest 1 seed in the field. After Kansas, they basically stacked that region with, really tough 2, 3, 4, 5 seeds. So that, St. Mary's was in another region. They would be, I would really love it if they had just swapped them with Duke, because Duke is a 5 seed, and the East has a much easier path to the Final Four than St. Mary's does. But if St. Mary's can bring their A game, like certainly they can compete with UConn, and UConn's lost to lesser teams than St. Mary's, so they could win that game. But UConn unfortunately will be probably a 3 or 4 point favorite in that one.
If I'm trying to sneak off with my bracket on the back of maybe a surprise Elite Eight team, who would that team be? I'm in love with Florida Atlantic, but I'm afraid for the second round matchup with Purdue if it all comes to pass that way. I also love San Diego State, but maybe they're not a sleeper. Is there a team that you would maybe whisper to our audience as one that you might put in your bracket as a surprise Cinderella?
Yes. Don't tell anybody, guys.
Okay, thank you, Ken.
Right. I would go with Creighton.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hashtag Ken Palm.
I love, the 6th seed. They're 13th in my system. They've been really highly rated in a lot of analytical systems all year. They lost 6 in a row early in the season, and people kind of got off the scent, and they weren't rated in the AP poll. But they finished the season pretty strong, 14-6 in I think an underrated Big East. Lost in the Big East tournament, the semifinals to Xavier, pretty badly. So that might spook people a little bit too. But this is a team that has some low grade NBA talent at multiple positions, has some depth, and is a pretty well rounded profile. 27th on offense, 16th on defense. I mean they're close to those cutoffs you were talking about earlier. So this is a team that can make a deep run, and their bracket is actually pretty favorable in my opinion. I'm not really scared about Baylor. Arizona's had a good year, but their defense is a little suspect. So, I could certainly see Creighton making the Elite Eight.
This is Ken Palm. He's talking Ken Palm to me.
It is.
This is my dream right
Ken,
here.
you have no idea. It's literally like a young golfer meeting Tiger Woods.
I got goosebumps.
It's unbelievable what's happening in front of me right now. There's red cheeks and everything.
Oh my God!
Let me flip the script though, because everyone wants to know who's that underdog, who's that secret. Let's flip it.
Oh boy,
who's the overrated team? Who do people? You got people, taking them to the end, and you're like, no, that team's fake.
Well, number one on the list is Kansas, as I mentioned. They are the weakest 1 seed, and they just happen to get put in easily the most difficult region of the 4 regions. So that would be a team I would target. I would probably avoid picking them to the Final Four. If you want to have a 1 seed go down kind of early, certainly in the Sweet 16, I wouldn't object to getting rid of them. Another team that's a little suspect to me is Marquette as a 2 seed in the East. Again, one of those kind of lopsided profiles that are a little scary, really good offensively, but their defense has been kind of suspect all year. It got better in the Big East tournament, and they won the Big East tournament, but still has a ways to go. And, I tweeted out a stat earlier in the week that, no 1 or 2 seed that started unranked in the preseason AP poll has ever made a Final Four. And that encompasses 36 teams, so it's not a small sample, and Marquette actually falls into that category. They were nowhere to be found in the preseason AP top 25. I don't think they got a single vote. And here they are as a 2 seed. A fantastic coaching job by Shaka Smart, but ultimately, I think kind of the burden of being the surprise team will catch up to them.
Changing my bracket on the fly here with Ken Pomeroy at Ken Pom here on 95.7 The Game. You mentioned coaching Shaka Smart. What about Rick Pitino in Iona? How live are they as a double-digit seed going up against UConn and then maybe St. Mary's in the second round?
Right, yeah. They really got a bad draw, I think, in drawing UConn, because UConn's clearly the toughest 4 seed and kind of a sneaky Final Four pick. But it's hard for me to see that game being, a blowout in favor of UConn. I do think, Rick Pitino may be the best coach in the field. I'd probably go with Bill Self 1, but certainly Pitino 2. He's able to get the most out of his team, and I do think that is a very scary matchup for UConn. People say, hey, UConn's the best 4 seed, but UConn looking at Iona was probably not a matchup that they really wanted, and I could see that game getting interesting. I do think UConn will prevail, but Rick Pitino's not going to make it easy.
Ken Pomeroy, the great Ken Pom, with us, and the basketball ratings. By the way, is this a comfortable thing for you that people sit down with these ratings and then put their own money totally based on them? Like, do if it doesn't go well, do you get a lot of hate mail or something like that?
Yeah, certainly social media will light up on every twist and turn in certain games. And, And I can't monitor Twitter, during tournament action too often because the feedback is not always the best. But it's part of the territory, and you hope that once the dust settles, nobody's going to come to my house with some sort of weapon and want to do me in. That's the only thing I ask.
If you ever need it, Ken Pom, I've got your back. I've got your back in spades. I'm probably your number one fan, and I was on Corpus Christi yesterday. We're riding with Fairleigh Dickinson today, and it's all based on what we like to call here in the Bay Area, Ken Pom.
I love it. FDU's looking pretty good, so I hope that works out for us.
Thank you, Ken. If not, I'm going to turn on you in a heartbeat.
Understood.
Never.
Yeah.
This is my guru, Mark. This is my guy.
Ken, great to have you on a very, very busy day. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, go. That's
Is
Ken
that
Pom.
it?